YouTube, how's it going? The Goat House is back, and today I got my Seahawks offseason rebuild for the 2021 NFL free agency and draft here. Doing this for every single team. This is episode 3. We did the Dolphins and the Chiefs. Talk about in a second how the order is determined, but yeah, we go over cuts, restructures if needed, re-signings, then big free agency signings and big draft prospect targets, and there's 2 options of those for each team. We're doing this, so really excited about it. Hopefully you enjoy it. Seahawks today, of course, and we'll continue on. We'll try to rip through these, and we have other NFL offseason content, of course, already on the channel and plenty more to come. We grade every single free agency signing. We cover the draft fully, so hopefully you can join us for that. Subscribe, turn notifications on, and check out that Twitter. A lot of content on that Twitter. Breaking news, breaking down the breaking news, everything. So link in the description and comments for anything you need. Yeah, here's the Twitter. Panthers cut some guys this morning, so we were breaking that down. So yeah, we break down everything, give you guys updates, what's coming. So last night I kind of told you that these were coming here. This is how the order is determined. When I'm ready to work on a video, I take a look at these polls. I see which team has the most votes from the division with the most votes. So that was the reason we started with the Dolphins. We made our way to the Chiefs, Seahawks, so you kind of get an idea who's next, and we'll circle through the divisions, and that's how I decided to determine the order. Here's a little cheat sheet. I'll pin a link in the comments for this. Live updates to the cap space, my projections, who could be cut, how much they can save, things like that. So pretty cool. Definitely a link to keep handy there. But to the Seahawks rebuild, projecting around $10.5 million in cap space. That's kind of worst case scenario. That's kind of the floor, which is realistic though. The team salary cap hasn't been decided yet. It could be set at that floor. So around that 10.5. A lot of tough decisions for the Seahawks actually. Cut Carlos Dunlap to save $14.1 million. He actually looked pretty damn good. Was a pretty key reason why the Seahawks defense started turning around, getting some pressure and actually playing pretty well in the run game as well. But is he worth that $14.1 million there? I decided to cut him and clear that. I'm playing GM in these videos. I'm thinking you can get a guy that either just as good or better, has more potential in that price range, maybe even a little cheaper. So I went ahead and cut him. That's an interesting decision. Maybe they can work on a pay cut, something along those lines. And I would like to restructure a contract or two to clear more space. So you see, I went ahead and restructured Russell Wilson's and Bobby Wagner's, but I'm going to choose one or the other to actually do here. Because that money that you clear, 17.92 or the 12.07, you'll have to distribute that over the years and eventually pay that. These aren't pay cuts. So you don't want to do too much there. So I went ahead and chose to do Russell Wilson's. I can clear 17.992 in cap space there. So that'll definitely help because the Seahawks have some work to do. They got to re-sign some guys, and they got some work to do to get better because the roster really wasn't there, last year. That was a big reason they, were a little underwhelming. So then we go to our re-signings, some tough decisions, but after that after the cuts, the cut of Carlos Dunlap, they don't have too many options, and the restructure of Russell Wilson, it came to $42.5 million. That's worst case scenario. It's a good amount of cap space. Poona Ford's a must resign. Very good young D tackle for them. Shaq Griffin, I like at corner for them. I think they'll like to have him back. We'll see if they actually clear this much space. And David Moore's, a key receiver 3 for them. I feel like he doesn't do like a whole lot, doesn't have a whole lot of production, but I feel like he comes up clutch for them a ton. Third downs, making sure get that first down or deep balls. I think he does. I think he's an underrated player, really. So getting those guys back. So you see, I don't have some big time players on here. Chris Carson, who I like a lot. I think he's a damn good running back, very physical. It's just tough because what kind of price is he going to be? Is he going to be $9 million per year? Maybe 10, around that range. Maybe it's 8.5, a little less, $8 million. We'll call it that. And he's a really good running back, so important to this offense, opening up the passing game and wearing out defenses and help stretch the field out. But do you want to pay that much for a running back first? Do you want to pay that much for a running back that might not finish, play a whole season, finish a whole season, when you can get somebody else cheaper that can do maybe just as much damage? So even though I love Chris Carson's game, I think he's an underrated back. When healthy, I think he's a very good back. I decided, and if his price ends up being for some reason like $7 million or $6.5 per year, then yeah, I'd probably bring him back. But I decided not to go that route. KJ Wright is tough as well because he's very good last year. He's been very good over the course of his career. Been pretty important to the Seahawks. I think they're kind of planning to move on from him, drafting Jordan Brooks, playing Bobby Wagner, Jordan Brooks. You'll see a lot of two linebackers on the field at once for the Seahawks. So I think that's kind of the route. If KJ Wright wants to come back for cheaper than where he's going to get elsewhere, then sure. I don't think that's the case. So we're letting, Quentin Dunbar, he missed a good stretch of the season. The defense seemed to be better without him. I think that's kind of a coincidence, but because I think he's a solid corner, but I don't think it's a must re-sign here. The Seahawks need to get better. That's the main thing. You don't want to just spend all your money bringing your guys back and stay exactly the same. They need to get better. Offensive line and other positions. We don't want to stay the same forever. The roster just wasn't good enough last year. Too much on Russell Wilson. They got some really good key players, obviously, here and there. So we got to make it better. So that's kind of my thinking there. Save money to make it better. So option one here, we got two options. So I'm going to sign Trey Hendrickson. I think he's a fit to replace Carlos Dunlap. Remember Darrell Taylor, we didn't get to see him last year. I think, from Tennessee, the rookie, typically they want to have more of an athletic pass rusher on one side and then more of a hand in the dirt, stronger pass rusher that can be involved in stopping a run. So I think Hendrickson kind of replaces Dunlap. I think Darrell Taylor could be that replacement. Maybe I'm relying on the other side. I'm saying maybe I'm relying on him too much, but there's some upside there. They got some other young rotation guys. So get a guy like Hendrickson. I mentioned Carlos Dunlap. He might be in that price range. He might be a little cheaper than that $14.1 million of Carlos Dunlap. Might be around $13 million. It's a little bit of a risk because he was very productive last year, but the Saints just never played him a whole bunch. Like he never got that many as many snaps as you think he should have. So what's the reasoning for that? But I think it's really, it makes the defense better overall. Austin Blythe will be an upgrade. They need an upgrade at center. Will be an upgrade. He's coming from the Rams. Waldron, the Seahawks' new offense coordinator, coming from the Rams. So they may be interested in guys like this. He really improved his game over the last couple of years. So this will be an upgrade at center. Won't cost too much there. And I like Jamal Williams. This is one of my favorite free agents, honestly, because and his teammate Aaron Jones, who is a better running backs free agent, but he's going to cost a lot more. Jamal Williams isn't too far behind him. A lot of upside. I think he's a really good replacement for Chris Carson and will be cheaper, will be healthier. I love the fit in Seattle. So this is what I'm kind of going for here. Then you go into the draft and we go, they don't have a first round pick. So we're looking at rounds 2, 3, and then they have 1 and 5. So I picked up Trey Smith, I think a starting guard here. So you look at what they've done here. You brought in Blythe to start at center. They have Damian Lewis, the rookie from LSU last year, starting at guard. Trey Smith, I think, is a stud that you can get in the second round. Start him at guard. And then you got your tackles obviously already as well, which you could improve at the right tackle, but main thing is improve the interior for sure. And Dwayne Brown's just fine at left tackle. James Hudson, you do need to look for tackles still that potentially could play now and for the future because Dwayne Brown is aging. But James Hudson from Cincinnati had pretty good tape, very solid career there at Cincinnati. So I think you can scoop him up in the third round. He possibly can go round 2. And I like the fit of Keith Taylor, the corner from Washington. Pretty sticky in coverage, a very good technique, pretty lengthy. Lit up the Senior Bowl, but he's still probably going to go, in day 3 still. So I think they can add him for potential cornerback depth. But that's the problem, too, because you probably can look for another starter, opposite of Griffin, and maybe you don't even get Griffin back. So they actually have a lot of needs. We talked about across the offensive line, running back because Chris Carson is a free agent and he does have the injury concerns. You might even need another receiver, maybe a depth guy. You can find that in the draft. Corner, like we said. Pass rush for sure. You need to re-sign a guy like Puna Ford for interior. So it is a little messy, but because of restructures and cuts of Carlos Dunlap, you clear some space and make some things work. Let's go on to option 2, though. Different option here. And for some reason, I had a lot of Packers as fits for Seahawks. That's definitely a good thing, I think. But so we saw Jamal Williams in scenario 1. Now we got 2 Packers in scenario 2. I just view these guys as really good fits and guys that that fall into the category as potential need for the Seahawks, and I think they will target. So you're filling out guard and center in free agency. You get Lane Taylor, who's a very solid guard. At Corey Linsley at center. Packers probably get one of these guys back. We'll see. They could tag Linsley. I don't think they do. So this upgrades you big time. You're spending some decent money here on the interior. Then you get a guy like Ryan Kerrigan, who actually could be on the cheaper side if he's playing for a contender. I think he's still got some play in the tank for sure. He was just getting, 13.5 sacks per year a couple years ago. And his snap count, his production went down because the snap count went down because they got guys like Chase Young and Montez Sweat over there in Washington. So that'd be a pretty big pickup. Won't cost a whole bunch. You're spending your money on, Lane Taylor and Corey Linsley. Not the most appealing way to spend your money, usually, because they're not really playmakers, but Seattle, I think it would be for Seattle fans. They know they got to upgrade that, mainly that interior, but the offensive line in general. Then you get Dylan Raduns from North Dakota State, who can play tackle or guard. A lot of upside there. Get him in the second round. Then you get Trey Sermon, the Ohio State running back. So in this route, you didn't sign a free agent running back. You maybe want to roll with a guy like Penny, but you definitely need to draft one too. Sermon could be a good Chris Carson replacement there. Later day two, from Ohio State, very physical runner. So I like that as a fit. And they could be looking for a tight end. I mentioned the needs. They could be looking for a tight end because remember they played Disley and Greg Olsen a ton, and Hollister. He's a free agent. So they play tight ends a ton. Right now it's just Disley sitting there, who I do like if he's healthy. But they probably need another one. I think they'll like Tommy Tremble from Notre Dame as a fit. He's a really good blocker. Run blocking, pass protection, either one, and he could be sneaky in terms of his receiving ability. So there's a few teams I think he really fits. I think Seattle Seahawks are one of them, so that's definitely watch out for them. Looking for Tommy Tremble. So that's an early day 3 guy, but he could potentially sneak up into late day 2. Somebody to watch out for because, teams are gonna. I think he's gonna be. I think he's going to have more production, his receiving ability. Teams will see that, but they'll love his blocking ability. Kind of an instant impact guy. We can get, he's not an early draft pick. We'll redraft him. He actually could be an instant impact guy. So 2 different routes Seahawks go. We'll be posting these on Twitter. Which route do you guys like better? You can vote. You can discuss. But yeah, this is the 3rd video of this series. We're going through every single NFL team, of course. So Seahawks, as I learned going through this, which I kind of knew anyways, they got some work to do. The roster needs to be better around Russell Wilson and some of the other star players they got. They got some tough decisions, maybe some guys that they have to let walk. They got some restructures to possibly do, which shouldn't really be a problem. They're not pay cuts at all. So we'll see if those happen. I expect either Russell Wilson or Bobby Wagner, like I mentioned, to happen. Tough decision with re-signing guys with Carlos Dunlap. So yeah, it's going to be interesting and some needs there. So, but they could turn it around. It's a team that needs to turn it around quick because they can be a contender just like that, but they can't just sit around and stay the same. They can't do that, and they have been doing that, and that's why they've been coming up short. And I've kind of been ripping them for that over the years. They end up being accurate, that they've kind of been just sitting around and being the same team. You can't do that. So we'll see if they finally figure it out here because they can be serious contenders if the offseason is done right for sure. So yeah, can't wait to do every single team. We got other NFL offseason content, whether it's free agency, draft, trades. We break everything down here on the channel, everything. And then we break everything down the second it happens on Twitter. So that's where you get my thoughts first. So you make sure you follow that Twitter link pinned in the comments there, along with other things that are useful. But that is going to do it for this one. Thanks everyone for watching. Goodbye.